This is how it works. Basically, you're getting out of your car, a man approaches you, offers to make repairs to dents and scratches. Now, he was sitting on the other side of this window when he says he saw that thief stealing his bike and take off, but the 80-year-old says he refused to just sit back and watch. When I gave my report about 10 minutes ago, you could see the top of my feet. Not the case anymore. They're now shin deep. But we still have dozens of firefighters out here as we speak, trying to get those hot spots out. Using a phone and taping it to the wall. That's how investigators say this lifeguard tried to peep into a female locker room. I'm Jada Kim. We are live right now, and you hear protesters chanting "Love Trump's hate." His friends and family tell me that this baseball field where he worked, where he played, and even coached. Well, Dennis and Greg, the lawsuit claims that Canna Corner, a marijuana collective here in Tacoma, will have to shut down. And the owner says he has proof it's because of the color of his skin.
Top quality cannabis.
Oh, that smells good. Inside Canna Corner Collective in Tacoma, they believe the marijuana they sell is making a difference.
We help people. We help people with their pain management. We help people when they can't eat because they're going through chemo. We help people that have just got back from the war.
A Help owner, Adam Ingram, says he'll soon have to offer somewhere else. In a lawsuit filed Thursday, Ingram claims he's the victim of racial discrimination, harassment, retaliation, slander, and because of his race, is being expelled from occupancy of his space. In the lawsuit, he claims the mannequin he saw hanging by the neck on his neighbor's property last month proves it.
We weren't aware of the effect that it would have on us when we seen it. It did its job. It struck the fear in us.
Those named in the suit are Ingram's property owner and manager, as well as neighboring business owners Kristen and Tim Wynn, who own a historic building nearby.
This space we're sitting in is where we do mainly weddings.
The Wynns admit they've had disputes with Ingram before, but say it isn't because of his race, but his way of doing business.
They have been targeting our business and trying to sell marijuana to people who are coming to our venue to attend events.
They also admit the mannequin was on their property, but say it's all part of a misunderstanding.
That has nothing to do with us. Even though it was on our property, we didn't bring it onto our property, right, and we didn't touch the thing.
Ingram isn't buying it, and he doesn't believe a jury will either.
And the only thing equivalent to hanging a doll with a reminiscent to me of a Trayvon Martin hoodie, with his pants sagging. The only thing equivalent to that is burning a cross in front of my home.
Football is a contact sport.
I just like to go out there every week, hit, win.
And Garfield High School's defensive end, offensive tackle, knows the risks of playing this game he loves.
In my life, I had 2 concussions. My mom, she tried to talk me out of not playing football. She was like, well, because my brother, his career ended by a concussion. He got kneed in the head.
But Caleb and his team are getting new training this year that will teach a safer way to tackle.
It's transferring the energy through the body from your largest part of the body onto the runner. The second piece, it keeps the head out of the point of contact.
Ron Lloyd with Atavis Football says the key to safety on the field is taking the sport back to its roots.
Football started and evolved from the sport of rugby. And rugby still doesn't wear helmets. They don't wear pads. Go. The sport of football is a physical sport. What we teach, it maintains the physicality, but it also takes the head out of the game.
I decided to try the method too and got my first tackle against former Husky linebacker Scott Lawyer.
It was really great foot position. You got your shoulder in there, your head was out of there. It's the most responsible way of tackling out there.
Garfield's football coach Joey Thomas says the drills are working.
Technique is everything. With the proper technique, a little guy can take down a big guy.
His varsity team is 6-0, but even more reason to boast, they've had no concussions since partnering with Atavis.
Imagine that you can play football without helmets using the right technique. That should make every mother and father, feel pretty well about the game. But the game of football is under attack, and Atavis is the answer.
Liza Rankin's first grader rides the bus every day.
How you doing? Good.
And she worries about his safety.
I mean, your bus has a seatbelt in every seat?
Yes. Some of the buses that stop to pick up Emmett concern her.
The bus that drops him off looks like it was maybe in use when I was a public school student. The buses themselves seem to be inconsistent.
So we dug deeper to find out just how concerned Liza Rankin and other parents should be, sorting through hundreds of pages of state inspection records. We found minor problems like fluid leaks, burned out lights, and loose items on the bus, and a number of major problems that could put your child at risk. Emergency escape hatches that don't work, worn tires, and bad brakes.
It's a pretty intensive program, one of the few in the country right now that's running.
OSPI Regional Director Mike Shahan says each bus gets a full inspection at least once a year. The Washington State Patrol conducts the inspections.
We're ensuring that the vehicles are safe to transport our students.
They work through a checkoff list
Go ahead and drain the primer.
of the most critical items,
Turn the reds on.
making sure the stop paddles work, that emergency doors will open,
Did you run your brake test in the parking lot here?
and most importantly, that the brakes work.
You ready?
We rode along for a very specific test. If this bus can't stop within 50 feet, it's a serious problem. Imagine your child's school bus not being able to stop in time to avoid a crash. Even if one bus fails a brake test or something serious like that, how concerning is that?
Well, that's concerning. That's why we don't let it go out on the road.
Any bus found with a brake problem is pulled from the road until it's fixed. So how many bad brakes did we find in our search of the records? In the Bethel School District, one bus failed the 50-foot brake test. One bus failed an emergency brake test in the Highline District. But inspectors pulled 2 Tacoma school buses out of their about 200 from the road after they couldn't stop within 50 feet.
It's mostly about the inspections.
2 might not seem like a lot, but we asked Tacoma Public Schools spokesman Dan Volpel if he would put his child on those buses. Do you think that parents are concerned if that one bus has a brake issue, that could be their child on that bus?
I think anytime kids are riding the bus, my kids rode the bus, parents are always concerned and probably wonder from time to time whether the buses are being maintained.
Durham School Services is contracted to maintain buses for Tacoma. They downplay the test failure, saying the failed test came down to just a foot. They stopped at 51 feet instead of 50.
It's definitely concerning. We want them to pass. It's not that the brakes actually failed and they were not working. The 0 to 50 is type of a standard or a spec. It's a tolerance.
But bad brakes is just one problem that could put kids at risk. Seattle Public Schools, home to the largest school bus fleet in the state with more than 400 buses, had more than 50 buses with fluid leaks, 9 were written up for front steering issues, and 35 had problems with 8-way paddles. How important are the 8-way paddles? It's the only way to warn other drivers to stop so children can safely get on and off the school bus. We wanted to ask Seattle Public Schools how so many buses could have paddles that don't work. I'm just calling to see if we were able to get somebody to talk to us about our bus inspection findings. But the district said no to our repeated requests for comment.
I've been driving school buses for about 10 years now.
We did ask Seattle school bus driver Renita Wright about the findings.
I think so.
In her experience, she says buses that aren't safe will not go out on the road.
There are times when we are faced with a vehicle that is not safe, but during our pre-trip process, once we're doing a thorough walkthrough, we get to notice those details, and we will automatically down a bus.
But I bet you can read a lot of the words in that book.
But for Mom Liza Rankin,
I would expect the buses to have at least a good record and to be at least as well taken care of as I take care of my car.
You ate the chocolate chips.
You ate the chocolate chips.
Any maintenance red flag is a reason to worry as she hands over her most precious cargo every day.
Everybody's kid is on those buses. That really needs to be figured out.
Car prowls are a crime of opportunity.
Just days from their wedding day.
That was the engagement ring.
Hope was lost for Matthew Miller and Naomi Taylor.
You know, it's really not about the rings, it's more about the lives that we're starting together.
The couple sat down and spoke to us about how a thief broke into Matthew's car and stole their rings and their trust in people. Heartbroken, they begged for someone to turn them in. But just hours after the story aired, something else happened instead, leading them to this moment.
All right, after you.
They're at Wyatt's Jewelers in West Seattle to pick up Matthew's wedding band.
If you want to give this to him,
I would like to.
Wyatt's is one of 2 jewelry stores that stepped in and donated rings.
There's just so many good emotions going on right now.
Pretty incredible. Words can't really express how grateful we are.
The other store is Federal Way Custom Jewelers, where Matthew got to propose to Naomi with a new and donated engagement ring and wedding band.
And I know there's so many stories that never have the complete cycle and a happy ending, but that was really what I was hoping for, and it wouldn't have happened had you not done the story.
Both owners say seeing the couple heartbroken moved them to help.
When I saw this report, as icky as what they just went through, I knew this was my chance to give forward and to pay it back.
Now just days from saying I do, the couple have new rings in hand, a happy ending to one chapter so they can start the next.
No matter what, I mean, there are some bad people out there, but the majority of us really are good. And we learn just how good people can be.
And as I mentioned, the couple is getting married on Saturday. They're getting all of the preps in, but they said one of the vows they made to each other was to never leave their rings in the car. They don't want this to happen again.
Right, yeah.
His friends and family tell me that this baseball field where he worked, where he played, and even coached really holds the key to keeping his memory alive. Life has a way of throwing curveballs.
It's hard.
And that's exactly what the Styron family say they got when they lost their 13-year-old son, Carson, after an ATV accident in June.
I think people put themselves in, in our shoes and how they would feel losing their child and who Carson was. And I think they just really want to help us get through this time.
Carson's Milton community has since stepped up to the plate in the midst of their own grief.
Then when I got home, she was crying. I was like, Mom, what's wrong? And then she told me, I just lost it.
Friend Devin Fuchs started a petition to rename the Lower Milton baseball field in honor of Carson.
I just want him to be remembered like he should be.
Dozens gathered at the Milton City Council meeting to try and persuade city leaders to make that happen.
We're not asking for money, we're just asking for permission and to work with the city on making it, a better park and not such an eyesore.
Supporters say a foundation in honor of Carson would pay for the renovations and would provide another safe venue for kids to play.
I have never won a game against him.
More importantly, for those that love him, allow his memory to live on.
This might not be the most appealing field in Milton, but I think that we can help to improve it. And I'd love to do it in Carson's name.